Hello, my name is Casey Kelly and I'm the Rocketpreneur. Listen, I'm here to help you make, manage, and maintain your money through a spiritual and financial growth mindset. I became a biblical millionaire by 29 years old, and I'm here to help you do the same. To the Rocket Preacher Live Weekly Business Sermon. I don't know what I'm doing. Listen, hey, I'm so glad you're here. What's up? My name is Casey Kelly, the Rocketpreneur. I am the Rocket Preacher this week, giving you a live weekly business sermon. This is number 9 on our weekly business sermons that we've been going week by week, talking about finance and faith and how to marry the two together and live in a real way. We are on part 2 of a series we started last week called Rocket to the Moon. Part 1 was on people. Right? We're going to talk a little bit about that. And this week, part 2 is on resources. This is a 7-part series where we unpack the 7 pillars that you must master in business and inside of a financial ecosystem in order to have real success, in order to make money. And so I'm here to help you. I got crazy shirts. I got an amazing background. I mean, I like to be wild. I like to live life. Listen, if you're not living with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, what is the point of your being? Now listen, people. So we talked last week on people, just a quick recap. You are made in the image of God. The Bible says that you are the imago Dei, which means image of God. That God literally breathed, Theopneustos, God breathed his spirit into you, into us, into the word. And this is powerful because I'm a person of faith, charismatic faith. I love my God. I'm an imperfect man, but I believe in a perfect God. And so I'm diligently working towards that every day. But I, over 7 years, have built a company into more than $20 million in revenue. This year, we'll probably do $7 to $10 million alone from a run rate. And we're going to continue to compound and grow. And I recently sold my company for millions of dollars, but I'm still on as a partner to help it grow. And so what I want to do is I want to teach you the things that I've learned in my life of spending over $300,000 on consultants to teach me these things so that I can bless, refresh, and encourage your life. And if you're willing to listen and put just a little bit of action in, I promise you'll start to find financial success. So let's talk this week. Resources. What does that mean? Well, there are 2 types of resources, I believe, in all companies and businesses. There are people resources, which we talked about last week. So go and check that out on my page, facebook.com/CaseyKellyOfficial. What's up? Number 2, there are cash capital resources. So people resources are humans, obviously. I mean, it's the manpower, it's the sweat equity, it's utilization of people's skills and abilities for the good and glory of God and others. The cash capital resources are the one thing we all say we need more of, right? My friend Matt Monero says, you need more money. And he's totally right. But money is not everything. It's one piece to the equation. And so what we're going to talk about today is how to cultivate resources, how to understand what resources are available in a company, and how to continue to utilize them in a real way that helps you move forward in your career. Listen, I was talking yesterday to my friend, and they were telling me about how they make, $20 an hour. And I was like, man, by the world standards, you are crushing it. Like, good job making $20 an hour. But alternatively, you also charge, $75 an hour for consulting to do different work or design. They're a web designer. And they're like, yeah, that's what I do. And I was like, well, so every 1 hour you work at your current job, which is salary, good job, awesome. You make, though, 3 hours worth of value if you just consulted for 1. So if you consulted for 1 hour, you make $75 an hour. But if you work for 3 hours and 40 minutes or whatnot in this other job, then you make the same amount of money, right? You're like, yeah. And I was like, okay, so I want to help you move from this $20 an hour to 75 all the time, right? And then 75 to 150, 150 to 250 or beyond. Now, last week's business sermon, we talked about that concept. And the week before, we talked about the value of your time. Like, what are you worth per hour? How to determine that, and then how to get that from people that you're working with, right? It's critical to start to determine your objective goals and move towards it. So what we're going to talk about, I've got a couple notes here I want to read with you today, is they're kind of the 7 stages of a business life cycle. Now, I did not invent this. This is something that's pretty common knowledge in the MBA and business world. But these 7 stages of a company, you need to understand, even just from a high level. Like, I'm going to spend like 3 or 4 minutes trying to just tell you the stages, tell you what they look like, and then identifying them. Because until you understand which stage you actually are in, whether you're an intrapreneur and you work for somebody and you're entrepreneurial internally as an employee, or you're an entrepreneur who owns the company and works on it, you're going to need to understand where you're at to understand what resources you have, the human capital and the cash capital, the 2 types of resources I talked about. And so as the second pillar of these 7 things you need to know to survive, we're going to talk about the 7 stages of business. 7, 7, 7, 7. 7 is the holy number of God. It means perfect. So I like 7. I'm going to work on it. So the first stage of a business is seed, right? This is the seed phase. This is the idea. This is the dream phase. This is where we're like, I'm dreaming. I've got crazy ideas. I want to become something. Like, I got this crazy idea, bro. I'm going to invent a vacuum system that just attaches to the walls in every movie theater. So instead of all those little sweeper guys, every single time the vacuum system just goes out and sucks all the popcorn up. Okay, that's a cool idea. Don't steal it, it's mine. But I'm just kidding. But the seed stage, right? You're in this stage where you need to raise cash capital and human capital, and you need to get resources. This is the very early stage to be able to go to market and build a company to move to stage 2. And so in the seed stage, the most important thing is finding the people who are going to run with you and then finding the cash to be able to do it. But you have to determine what your business or the company or whatever it may be is before you can start raising money around it. Now you may be saying, cool, I don't want to start a company. How does this apply to me? Well, you might be working for a company or starting with friends. Like, you're not starting the company, but you happen to be there, that are at the seed stage. They're at the very beginning. And so resources are pretty freaking slim. Manpower, money power, cash capital power. Like, there's not a lot there unless you're coming in with a bunch of seed money, right? You've heard the term, like a seed round. We raise some funds. Unless you have some money, it's going to be kind of difficult to do what you need to do. And most startups don't start with money. And so seed is the first one. The second is startup. This is where you've started the company. You've raised some money, or you've decided to go with no money and you're just running full speed ahead with people and going like, we'll just work and we'll do labor and we'll clean. Well, you needed some money to buy your lawnmower. You needed some money to buy your camera equipment. So it all takes both cash capital and human capital. But it's important to understand that those are the 2 resources you need to gain and how much of them you have. Number 3 is growth. Your company's been started. It's going. It's got the idea. You got clients. You got sales, you got fulfillment, which are the other 2 pieces of business, sales and fulfillment. You're making everything move forward, but you need to move to grow the business. So cool. You got your seed, your startup, you're growing the company. The 4th stage is going to be establishment. This is where your business has been around for a little while. Call it a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. It's starting to get established. People are knowing about your business. They understand it. You've nailed down some of your processes, your networks. You have like a replicatable footprint each and every day that you could say, this is how we do what we do. From there, though, you move from established into expansion. This is where you're going to start growing that which you built, right? This is how franchises grow. You get initial store, then you open a second store, and then you open a third, and you're like, wow, we have a chain once you hit 3 stores. And then from a chain, you start to say, let's just grow more. This has become a franchise, similar to like Jurassic Park 1, 2, 3, Lost World. They're chains, right? That's the concept, is that it's a franchise. That's why you've heard that term. And so from there, you're expanding, but then you're going to reach a point where you institutionalize or mature. Right? Now, at this point, you're going to either head towards death, which the final stage is exit, right? So you're going to exit, meaning you sell the company, you harvest it, right? Just like a field that every one of these stages are like farmers in a field, right? Cultivating, creating, and making. And you exit where you make money or you move on, or it dies, right? The business can become institutionalized and it can die. Blockbuster is a good example of that. We've talked about them not pivoting before and how Netflix took over. Like it can happen. And so I share that with you because you need to start to think, what stage am I at? Now, I'm going to spend my whole time teaching you how to like live in each one of these stages, but I do want to take a minute to say, here are the stages. I'm going to say them one more time slowly because I talk too fast. Seed, startup, growth, establishment, expansion, maturity, exit. Those are the 7 stages, right? Now, why is it important? Well, if you're a person who wants to make $100,000 a year, do you think it's practical to make $100,000 at the seed stage? No, it's not practical because there's not enough money for the business. The business needs cash. It's like a baby. It needs to be fed. If you picture this life cycle like your own birth life cycle, if you were a small baby and you wanted to run, does that make sense? No. Do we allow babies to get tattooed? No. Do we allow babies to lift weights? No. The point is that there are seasons for everything. The Bible says that there's a season for everything, and everything will happen in its due season, right? And so we got to think about that in regards to a business, right? If you want to make $100,000 and you're in the maturity phase of a business where you're institutionalizing, do you think that's possible? Yes. But is there really security for you in that job? Probably not forever necessarily, unless it's an industry that's really not going to die, right? It keeps pivoting, right? Because what you got to realize is even though an industry's been around for a long time, like 100 years, it has to keep diversifying and pivoting in order to survive. Now, again, some of this may be going way over your head. Sometimes I talk about these concepts and people are like, what are you saying to me? Like, you're a genius. I'm not. I'm just like you. In fact, 7 years ago, I literally knew none of this. I didn't understand any of the economics of business and finance and resources, this stuff I'm talking about. But I'm trying to teach you how I've learned them and how you can apply them to your life and have real financial success. So let's say you're right now in the growth phase. You've started up a company, or you're a part of a company because you work there as an intrapreneur, as we talked about, someone who works internally at a company, and you're going to work to the best of your ability, and you're in this growth phase. Well, it's probably realistic to make the average income of the industry. You'll probably not be hyper over-indexing your income. Hyper over-indexing, that's a cool word, cool set of words. You will probably not be over-indexing the median income. So for example, if web designers make $70,000 or $50,000 a year, you're probably not making 150. Okay, that's just not realistic because you're in this growth phase, and growth takes capital. So one thing I want you to put in your mind, cash capital. Whenever you're growing, it requires a lot of cash, which means you have to give up some of the human pleasures during that time because you want to gain long-term the benefits of the sacrifices you're making today. But if the company is established and makes really good money, you can utilize that, but you should be shrewd and smart, because if you could keep more of those dollars for yourself instead of just spending them on other things, then you're going to build real wealth, right? Let me give you an example of different stages I've experienced. Because in my company, I grew over 7 years' time and sold, and I'm still a part of. I've actually experienced every phase of this, and I'm in a new phase, which is different, right? So I started out my company with $5,000 to my name, right? I had $5,000. It was a student loan, and they allowed me to use it for other things. They were like, go ahead and do this. I was going to college, and I was trying to get my generals done. And they're like, you can use this as like a Pell Grant. You can use it for school, books, whatever, resources towards company, towards business. And I was like, awesome. And so I had to raise more money because $5,000 was not going to be enough to open a retail store which needed $10,000 to $15,000 in minimum inventory out the gate. And so I brought in a couple other partners that came with their each own $5,000. I had my friend Vinny, I had my friend Morgan, and I had $5,000. So here we are with $15,000 to our name. We're going to start our first store. And within 14 days of starting this concept, we opened our first repair shop, and we grew from 1 store to 7 in about a year and a half. But the only way we grew, and that story gets all rough and crazy, but that's not the point of this one, right? But the only way we opened more stores was because we had both those things I just told you about. Resources, human capital, amazing team members that were committed to us, they were committed to the growth, they were committed to the business, they were committed to the success of the company, and cash capital. How did we get that cash capital? Well, as partners and owners, we had to come up with that money. We had to do cash calls. I remember at one point we were so upside down, we didn't have enough cash that my friend Vinny put in $50,000 in order to bridge us to get through this payroll period. Now, this is a big deal because $50,000 is a lot of money. It is, period, right? Today, to me, it's not that much money relative to my life because I'm at different cycles, but $50,000 in that moment was literally life-saving. And so there's this power in having relational resources that we have to understand that it's people and it's money. Men and money, men and money, men and money. It can be women and money, but the punchline is men and money. The idea is that you need both to have success. It is the two parts of the fuel that make the rocket go. And so it's not complicated, but if you don't start to think through how many men do I have on my team? How many faithful men that I can trust? And how much cash capital resources do I have in my arsenal? How much ammunition do I have? You're going to start to find yourself falling apart at whatever stage you're in inside these businesses. And understanding the 7 stages of a business is critical because if you don't know where you're at, you don't know how to ask for certain resources. So as I've gone through the 7 stages of this business cycle and I've applied these 7 pillars I'm teaching each week, which we're talking about resources, what I was able to do with that big old silly check on the wall, that's not a real check, but I wanted one, like Happy Gilmore style, was to become a millionaire by 29 years old. I made millions and millions of dollars by 29 because I followed these principles. I want to help other people do the same, but I had to learn over those cycles, the high highs, the low lows, and the emotional experiences that have to happen. All hard work produces a profit. All pain produces fruitfulness. That's what I'm starting to adopt that in my life, that pain is necessary. This struggle, these issues are necessary so that we can overcome. And so now that I'm on the other side of this, we sold the company. I'm still a partner in the organization that we're growing now. We're at 15 stores now. Our goal is to get to 100 stores by the end of the year. That's what we want to keep doing and growing. I'm a part of that half time, and I'm part of this other Rocketpreneur stuff, the other portions of the time that I can do. And so when we look at that though, we're in a new world because we reset in the cycles. We're back to the seed stage and the startup stage. Even though the company had been there for 7 years, we're remaking all the company. And from a seed standpoint, them acquiring me was the seed money they put in, plus more resources to be able to stabilize the organization. But the difference this time is that coming into it, they have 3,455 employees that are on staff, plus ours, and they have $1.8 billion a year in cash capital that they generate in income, with cash flow easily of millions, $10, $15 million a month that they could utilize to grow. So what's different here? Well, once you reach a certain point and you have enough men and money, it becomes very easy to accomplish anything. And so what I want you to take away from this is that if you don't learn the power of men and money, that you need humans, which is part 1 of the series, people is first of the pillars, and then resources, cash capital resources, this cash capital, you're never going to have rocket fuel success. It's that simple. So if you're struggling in a company right now, there may not be enough cash capital resources and you need to make more money for the company or yourself. If you have enough cash but enough faithful people, you need to work on loving people more, view them in the image of God, because it's not all about money, right? They go hand in hand, right? You've got to love both God and people, and you've got to be able to encourage and utilize money and resources to God's glory and the good of others, right? These are the kind of these punchlines. So I want to take this away. I don't want to spend more than 16, 17 minutes of your life. I didn't want to take too much. The goal every Friday is to teach you these concepts that I've learned. And now I've given you a holistic overview of what are cash capital resources? What are human capital resources? How can you understand how to navigate the different stages of a business? But what I really am excited about is I'm launching a course in the next week or two that's going to literally teach you these 7 pillars in depth. I got 6 hours worth of training. I flew out to New York. I filmed it all day. They told me it was the fastest someone had ever done it, the most efficiently. That's just my nature. I'm a rocket. And I'm excited to launch that course for you. I'm going to make it super affordable. This isn't all about just making money, but incentives have to be aligned. Again, men and money. Men don't take action unless there's money involved most of the time. Even nonprofits need money. Okay. So the reality is we've got to stop talking about money as if it's demonic, because it's not. It can become a root of all evil or a tool for profitability. And we've got to use it as so. And so I share that with you because I've got a course launching. I'm excited. By next week, hopefully I'm telling you about it more and sending you different links. But if you like what you see here, do me a favor. Share this video, tell people about it. Go back and watch the other Rocket Preacher live weekly sermons. I've got a daily Rocket Daily where I try and share things that are inspiring my life real time. I'm on day 344 today out of 365 was my goal. I want to get a year done, and I'm really close to being able to knock that out, missing a few days here and there. And daily I try to post different inspirational things. So if you like what you see, please share with others. My objective in life is to bless, refresh, and encourage others and pour myself out as God has called us. So I love you, care about you, don't know you. Hope you're blessed and refreshed today. I hope you really learned something around resources, and you today start asking, where am I at in the life cycles, and how do I get more men and money in my life? Thanks for watching.